Hey, it's Benny. Welcome back to Roll and Write Revolution. Today we're looking at Pipe Fitters, local six-sided. So this is a deck building flip and fill or roll and write style game using cards. Players are going to be building their decks. They're also going to be doing actions that involve their cards from their deck. So let's take an initial look here. Each player is going to start out with the same starting cards. They all have pipes on them, and then they all have a second ability. So they could do one of two effects. They could either play it for the card effect, or they could play it for the pipe. So there's $2, $2, or a wrench. And so this is all going to be notable on the player sheet. Let's go ahead and take a good look in this one here. You have 5 possible actions on your turn. You can add pipe to the city. So that would be if I were to play a card like this. I would play my card. I'd keep the rest of them in my hand. And then I could then add, up here to the city, I can add a curved pipe any direction I wanted from any space, except for the spaces that have the buildings in them. Those are considered houses and or shops, apartment buildings and such. You also have 2 water supplies. So your goal is to try to get water from the water supply out to the other buildings, right? But the buildings have numbers on them which indicate flow rate. So in this case, if I played this card, my flow rate's only going to be a 1. So if I wanted to connect this water supply here to this building, I'm only going to mark in one of these squares. There's 4 squares here for maximum flow rate of 4, right, per pipe. So you have to keep this in mind when you connect a water supply. You're actually going to have to roll the dice if your value of your flow rate is lower than your building you're going to. So in this case, if I played this, I would draw my pipe, right, and I would color this in, and I have to roll. Now, in order to be safe, I have what's called a no clog. So on a 1, I'm not going to get a clog. If I roll anything other than a 1, I'm clogged, which would mean I would have to take one of my cards from my hand, place it face down on any of my action spaces. Remember, I only have 5 possible action spaces. And to clear a clog, I would have to then spend an action to do so. The next thing you can possibly do is you can buy cards. So here you can place as many cards as you want for their money value. Okay, this card here we just talked about only has a wrench. It's not worth anything for cards. These 2, however, are going to be worth 4 if I combine them. So if I play those 2 here, I can buy a card for up to value 4. So here's my cards up here at the top. I have 5 to draw from. At any point in time, a player who's taken this action can wipe this board and then draw 5 new cards if they so choose. So your card values are up here in the top corner. So this one is worth 4 with a flow rate of 3. That's a whole lot better than the other starting pipe I showed you a minute ago. So that could be useful to me. These other cards here are 4, these are 3, and this one's 2. If I had 2 cards that were value 2, for example, I would still only be able to buy 1 because I've not upgraded that ability. So if I had, for example, this, I had 2 cards that were value 2. All of these cards are slightly different. There are 42 cards in the main deck. This is a 54 card deck. So these 2 cards, I couldn't buy both, even though they're both $2. So combined, their value is $4. However, looking back here at our player sheet, my maximum number of cards I can buy is only 1. However, I can upgrade abilities. So let's look at that next section here. The third possible action you can do on your turn is to upgrade abilities. You play money and wrench cards, or wrench cards, to increase your track abilities. And that's these 1, 2, 3, 4 track abilities here. This bottom one, the union, is actually a specific action. We'll talk about that in a minute. So if I wanted to upgrade my ability, I would need a wrench and a dollar to upgrade ability. So I could play these 2 cards, get no change back to upgrade ability. So now if I wanted to, I can mark this one out. Following turn, I could buy 2 cards. So you mark out actually the one above it, check the box that you're doing instead, and then now you have this ability. So I'd be able to buy 2 cards instead of just buying 1. Our next one is maximum hand size. To start the game, you are a maximum hand size of 3 cards. Your deck is exactly 3 cards, right? So as you buy cards, you're going to discard them at the end of your action. Anything you buy is going to get shuffled, right? Every time you empty your hand and you have to draw up to 3, you shuffle your discard pile to form a new draw deck, right? Each time through, each time you run out the draw pile. So maximum hand size can be up to 5. Again, you're paying a wrench and $1 for that upgrade. Over here, to buy maximum cards, you would pay $2 for each upgrade. Over here, the clogs, you would need 2 wrenches for the next open spot. Over here, this track over here, this is actually a set collection game as well, so you have all these 6 symbols are indicated on the cards you can buy as well as here on the sheet. And so you can do these in any order. All the rest of them you can see have arrows indicate the order they have to be done in, including the union. So if I wanted to, I could pay my upgrade ability to mark a wrench, and I could mark out, say, the torch, right? And as we talked about up here, all of these cards have abilities. So there you can see the torch, you can see the hacksaw, and the pipe snake. There's also a plunger, a flashlight, and a pair of pliers. So you're going to use the cards that you've bought as well as your sheet for your set collection. So you're trying to get as many sets of 6 as you can. So each set is going to be worth points at the end of the game. You can increase your flow rate. So this is a pipe that's already been placed in the city. So if we talked about earlier where I had placed this to add a pipe to the city, right? So here's my pipe. My flow rate is 1. On a following turn, after I've already added this pipe to the city, so let's go ahead and add that in so you guys can see this in action. So here's our pipe, flow rate of 1 on our pipe. We did, however, supply water to it, which is a good thing. So that actually is there's a bonus that goes along with that. We'll talk about that in a second. So I would have rolled the dice. It's not a 1. So I will take and lock a card. So I can't actually lock the one I had done on that turn. I will instead lock my buy cards ability for now. That would be a discard. This one is still in my hand. So now on my following turn, I don't really necessarily want this card back. However, I do want to increase my flow rate for, let's say, another pipe. This isn't a very good example of a pipe that I want to increase flow rate to. But if I had played, for example, a different pipe, if I played this one, also connected this water supply. All right, so this is a T pipe. And these are all from the starting hand as well. So now this T pipe is not connected to anything, right? Because I've already have 1. My flow rate being 2, 1, 2. It's not connected though, so I don't have to check for clogs. I don't have to check for clogs when I connect it, right? So now, because I know I'm going to probably hit a clog, I'm going to want to increase my flow rate. So I'm going to play this card to increase my flow rate by 1, since I'm actually going to be heading towards a 3 and a 3. Now this pipe is a 3 flow rate. As long as I can make the next one here and here a 3 flow rate, I will also not have to worry about clogs, which is a very, very good thing. The last possible action you can do during your turn, pipe fitters, get our cards back here a second, is union dues. So union dues, you're going to get union dues a couple of different ways. So you can either, when you complete a pipe route connecting a building to a water supply, mark 1 open space for each pipe you have played on that path. So over here, I've played 1 pipe on this path, so I would mark 1. Even though I did have a clog, I still did connect the water, which was good, but I screwed myself up because I didn't have the flow rate. So here, each time you mark a space, you are going to get ultimately an action or an ability. So if I filled in these 5, I could then draw a card. So I would mark that out and be like, oh, sweet, cool, I'll draw a card. Over here, you can only draw a card if you have any available in your deck, of course. Gain an ability, that's these up here. So you're going to add 1 to the next level, or over here, set collection, you just pick one you want. So in order to do that, you play cards here. So you either get it from connecting a water source, or I can play union dues. I can play as many cards as I want here. I mark 1 for each card played in this area. So if I take my hand of 3 cards, 1, 2, 3, drop them right here, I can now mark 1, 2, 3 spaces, my union dues, okay? So that is how the game progresses. So now I'd take my cards back, those are discard, shuffle them up, draw them again. There's only 3, and I really have to shuffle. But you guys get the idea. So This is our game, Pipe Fitters. There are multiple maps. You're going to get, I think, 3 maps. There's also a BGG page for Pipe Fitters where there is a make your own map. So you guys will have access to the files here to have the blank, and then also have each of the 1, 2, 3, 4 building types. Mark them up any way you want. Please use 2 water sources. And so as we talked about deck building, so you can buy cards, right? Let's go ahead and buy cards so we can have something different in our deck. We'll spend 2. Remember, I cannot buy the 2 2s because I haven't increased that one. But I sure do like this flow rate of 3, so we'll have that. And anytime you buy a card, you're going to turn one out for the next player. Okay, so now this gets added to my discard pile. These cards go back to my discard pile. Shuffle them up. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. And then I draw 3. This time, I've got a really good card. With a flow rate of 3, and it's a curve, pretty great. Not so great for connecting these other 3 buildings, though. But I could also spend it for $3 or 2 wrenches, so pretty handy. I think we're actually going to work to make these cards so they do not need text, probably the player sheet as well. So you guys may see a slightly different version of this when you get the files from your Kickstarter when we launch that, and when you'll get a chance to back it. So thank you so much for checking out Pipe Fitters Local 6-Sided. This is our deck building flip and fill game with some very nice cards from the Game Crafter that we ordered up, purchased. They will be available for purchase if you guys want to buy that. Buy the cards that way. I don't remember what they cost, but I know they're not a bad price, and they're actually really nice cards. These are the glossy stock. Pretty good density for cards as well. So pretty, I don't know if you guys see, pretty thick. Not sleeved. We try to keep things off the edges so you guys can have nice clean edges with your cards when you shuffle them and play them a lot. So this is Pipe Fitters. Thank you so much for checking it out. There are going to be, like I said, 3 maps. It plays 1 to 4 players. So you can have solo play. You can have multiple friends playing the game with you as well. Each time with this game, when you're building your map, so this is important to remember, players should use their own color of markers, right? In this case, I have a black marker playing also by myself. If I had multiple players, I would use a different color marker as well. So then when a pipe is connected to a building, right? So if somebody else was to connect this pipe here, match the flow rate if possible. Otherwise, take a clog, whatever. Myself and the other player would then be able to fill in union 1 point for each of my pipes. So my pipes is 1, their pipes is 1. So they would finish this up. We would both score towards our union goals. So kind of a little bit cooperative in that sense, especially with the map. But it may be a way for you to help your opponents, but also maybe hinder them. Because if you put a pipe in at a spot that's maybe not ideal, like a curved pipe, say away from this 3, curving this way, that might not be ideal for your opponents. Anyway, so thank you for checking out Pipe Fitters Local D6, or Local 6-Sided. This is Benny. This is Roll and Write Revolution. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the comments. Have a safe and happy day. Remember, let's lay some pipe.